Good evening. My name is Thurman Greco, and this is Let's Live with Thurman Greco, coming to you from scenic downtown Woodstock, educational television, Channel 23, and from a YouTube, Let's Live with Thurman Greco. And we have some delightful guests this evening. And if they get too good, I may ask them to come back regularly, like every week or something. But I invited Violet Snow, and if you will remember, we had Violet Snow on several months ago because she wrote this wonderful book, which I sat down and read in one sitting, which is saying a lot because I'm very busy, and I don't usually spend more than an hour a day on a personal reading project. Well, that went down the tubes right away. So I invited her back, but Violet didn't come. Violet sent a friend because Violet is very, very busy.
Well, Violet expects to arrive. I am filling in for her. I am her great-grandmother, Mary Wingebach. Very pleased to meet you.
Lovely
Mrs.
to meet
Greco.
you.
And I like to help Violet talk about her book because one of the two main characters of the book is based on me. In fact, I'm right here on the book cover.
Wow.
That's myself in younger years. And I have to tell all of you, if you want to be in somebody's novel someday, or even if you just want to be remembered, you have to write letters. I know people nowadays, they write on these little screens, they typewrite all sorts of things. Those are not going to survive. You have to write letters. That's how Violet found out about my women's club and how important it was to me. So when she came to write this novel, she said it in the early 1900s. And it's about suffrage and women's clubs. And people nowadays don't know about women's clubs, but because of my letters to my mother, which I saved and passed down, now we have this book, and I am one of the main characters.
Well, I am so happy to have you come because, you know, I know about women's clubs. I'm old enough to know about women's clubs, but I haven't been able to talk about women's clubs for 50, 60 years because they've been off the screen.
Well, there still are some women's clubs. There are 3,000 of them, approximately, belonging to the National Federation.
Yes.
And I have encouraged Violet to join the National Federation.
Do you know if she did it?
She did, and she's going to speak to the Wallkill Women's Club in a few weeks.
Is that a member of the National Federation?
It is, and it has been in existence since the early 1900s.
I would love to go.
It's
Do you know
still
when
going.
she's going to be speaking?
In June.
I would
We will
love to
invite
go.
you.
I would love to go.
I'll make sure she invites you.
Oh my gosh. I would be going so back into my past. I can't even imagine. I mean, that's a long time in Wallkill.
In Wallkill, yes.
And what time is this meeting? Is it in the morning, midday, or afternoon?
6:30 in the evening
It's
on a Tuesday.
It's an
Yes.
evening meeting. It's an evening meeting.
Yes.
Wow.
But I fear we're leaving out this lovely gentleman here. and
We
perhaps
are.
you,
Oh,
want
yeah,
to
it's
speak
quite
to
all right.
him
It
as
We
can
well.
be left
are,
out
you know,
entirely.
and he brought some books with him because he too is a writer, and he brought, what did you bring? Princeton Diary by Sparrow, and then another one called Civilization and Its Disc Contents by Sparrow, which is in Russian and English, and that got me all excited. And then he brought Small Happiness and Other Epiphanies by Sparrow also. Can we start off by saying, can just anybody call you Sparrow?
Yeah, everyone calls me Sparrow except my dad. My dad is 103, he lives in Brooklyn, and he calls me by my real name, whatever it is.
And you're not confessing that up.
I'm not immediately and hopefully never going to tell you my real name, but it's some kind of generic Jewish name. You know, it could be something like Herman Plotznik, you know, something like that.
Something conservative.
God, I don't know how conservative, just Jewish, you know.
Well, when did you learn the Russian?
I never learned Russian. I am not going to admit, particularly
But
now.
now, wait a minute. How can you write poetry in Russian if you never learned it?
That's the mystery of life. That's the beauty of translation. I've got this translator in Berlin, you know that city in Germany?
Yeah.
And he is a Russian. He laboriously translates my absurd little poems into Russian and then puts them out in these beautiful bilingual translations.
And where did you meet him?
I never met him, in fact.
Oh, you never? Well, how did you connect with him?
I connect with him because of this guy, this Russian guy, I forget his name, but he comes up to me at poetry readings in New York City sometimes, and he'll just tell me like 20 Russian Jewish jokes in a row. Completely unfunny jokes. Like jokes that are either painful or tragic.
What language?
He tells them in English with a thick Russian accent. And then he's published by Propeller. See, the name of this publisher that's his name, Alex Galper, Galper. This is my friend, you know, my distant friend. And he said, oh yeah, you should get published by my friend in Berlin. That's his accent.
Yeah.
And he told me about Propeller, and I guess I sent my poems to Propeller.
And this came back?
This guy, Ilya Kitup, he's the translator and publisher, and this is like my, second book by him? You know?
That's wonderful. And so this is the book that you take to the poetry readings.
I sometimes take it. We just did, me and my wife, not this person, who is the great-grandmother of my wife, but...
The mother-in-law, the grandmother-in-law?
The great-grandmother?
Great-grandmother-in-law, yes.
Great-grandmother-in-law? That's what you are? Well, anyway, my wife and I just went to Mexico, and we gave 3 readings in Mexico, and I read liberally from this book, and in one of the readings...
Where did you go?
We went to Guanajuato.
I was going to say, how did they cope? But they didn't cope. They were all drunk. So it didn't make any difference.
I don't know how drunk they were.
Oh,
Went on kind of
Guanajuato has
early.
been famous the planet over for absolute total drunken behavior for decades.
Well, yeah. I mean, these people were drunk, but later in the evening, you know, because we went on around 8. I don't drink. I'm a little weak at assessing how drunk everyone else is. I didn't think they were that drunk. But they did like us. They were our one Mexican audience. We had two audiences in Guanajuato, one Americano, one Mexicano.
Now tell me about the Americanos.
The Americanos were weird. You know, there was some guy, you know, he's like 40 years old. And he's like, my wife and I, we retired. You know, we retired down here. You know, these kind of like mysterious, what did he do? He directed.
Well, do you know what a lot of these older guys that were down there that retired down there, they were helped in their retirement by the House of Un-American Activities.
Oh, in Guanajuato?
Mexico City, Guanajuato, all over Mexico.
Yeah. Well, my parents
all
were.
over Mexico.
My dad was a communist. My mother was a fellow traveler officially. She always thought she was in the party, but then my sister went to this website called Find Your Grandmother's FBI File.
Oh, great! What
It's
a fabulous
$25, you know, and then you get these files. My dad had quite a hefty file. Has, you know, something like 150 pages.
Did he ever go to Mexico?
I think they just went. See, my mother and my father, they were, you know, communists, but also a little bohemian. And they hitchhiked across the country for their honeymoon and back, 1948. And I think they dipped down to Tijuana or one of those border towns.
A lot of them made it that way, but then when they were coming back, they had problems.
Oh, you mean for the communists?
Because of the HUAC, of the House on American Activities.
Yeah. It was kind of a revolution. They had a revolution. I mean, I learned a little bit of Mexican history when we were down there. they had a independence type movement, revolution of independence, where Guanajuato was a very important played a big role in that. That's like 1816, 18.
Well, you know, Mexico has several Dia de Independencia. They have Cinco de Mayo, 12 de Octubre,
Whoa,
26 de Septiembre,
whoa.
16 de Diciembre. Yeah, and we've been totally ignoring you. How can we compare? We've got to bring this together. You and your great grandmother-in-law.
I think Violet has arrived.
Oh, you
She's
think
arrived?
Wait a minute.
I will go check.
No. Let's wait a few minutes. You hadn't had a chance to say anything.
Well, I certainly introduced
That's
myself.
not. I know, but that's not paying a respectful. That's disrespectful.
Yeah, to someone her age. She's roughly 152.
Well, that's pretty good.
I know.
152. I know a
Maybe
lot of
more
people
like-
that never make it that far at all.
When were you born? What year?
A woman does not
Tell
her
her.
age.
That's
Please.
true.
After 150,
Don't
they're
be
very
rude.
quiet.
Right.
Do not
We don't
be
tell
rude,
our.
sir.
We don't tell when we were born. We don't tell.
I'm sorry,
Ever.
I didn't mean to.
No, we
pry
just don't.
into your secrets.
So, do you travel with your great grandson-in-law?
No, I don't. That's why I think that Violet is about to arrive, and she should perhaps. I should go get
You
her.
never went to Mexico, right?
No, I went to Palm Beach once
And
for a
Wales.
wedding, and I went. Yes, and I went to Wales
Well, that sounds nice.
because my father was born in Wales,
And you went to visit him.
and
No.
he emigrated when he was 21, and later on, when I was 20, I went to Wales to visit his family.
What time of the year did you go?
Let's see, it was May.
Was it
I
cold?
there. It was quite pleasant. I was there in the spring and summer. Perfect time.
And then there was some guy she met.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she kept this journal. And in the journal, she talked about what happened in Wales. And then when she got to the part about this guy, what was his name?
His name was Will Bevan.
Ha! Will Bevan, yeah. When she got to the Will Bevan sections, she wrote it in stenography.
I taught myself Pitman shorthand when
Oh,
I
did
was
you
14,
really?
Because my parents, this is all right to say in the modern world, my parents were divorced.
Oh my God, that was scandalous.
Yeah.
Well, my father had, some problems. He was a Civil War veteran. He had some temper problems. And at the time, I would not tell anyone, but I think people nowadays are willing to accept that divorce is sometimes necessary to preserve life and sanity.
And the
So-
children and that kind of thing.
Yes. So, at the age of 14, I taught myself Pitman shorthand and typewriting, and I went to work for a publisher.
At 14?
I was a little older when I got the job, yes, but I worked for a publisher in Topeka, Kansas. Then, after I went to Wales, I ended up in New York City, and I worked for Dodd Mead Publishers for 10 years
Oh, that's lovely.
until I married.
And she maintained a secret, all her correspondence from her job in the publishing company with famous autographs
You
by
kept copies.
world famous
No, just a
writers.
small number of them. I kept some letters. I have a note and a card from Thomas Hardy
Wow.
inquiring about the literary magazine. Something about him was in the literary magazine that my employer published.
You know, you were really savvy to take copies home with you. I mean, I've had some very interesting secretarial jobs too, but I wasn't savvy enough to steal the files.
Well, I had permission from my editor. He was very kind. Yes,
What
I
did
have
you
a
drink
letter.
at lunch?
Pardon?
He must have to give you permission.
He was a little sweet on me.
Oh, I see.
He was?
Clever.
He was, but he was.
And we kept
he
that
was
quiet
not
too.
available. He was not available. We were the same age, actually.
Oh, wow.
He was young.
He came from a, artistic Boston family.
Wow.
Yes, and he let me keep a whole stack of letters. I have one written by Kate Douglas Wiggin, the author of Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm.
Wow.
Most charming woman. Yes, I have.
So
fond
when you
memories of
left,
that
you went
time.
out of there with a fortune.
Well, if anything goes wrong, they're there to be sold.
Right. That's right. That's right. If anything
But
goes,
for
it's kind of
now-
like a little insurance policy.
For now, it's just, Violet gets such pleasure out of looking through them and researching the people. I mean, most of those people are not famous nowadays, but in those days,
They were fine.
very
I have a question to ask. Has Violet got another book coming?
Well, you should probably ask her about that.
But she might be a little cagey, and you seem to be the holder of the secrets.
I'm talking about my secrets, not Violet's secrets.
Violet has to take care of her own secrets.
Yes.
Oh,
Violet
darn,
has
I may
secrets.
never find that out.
But anyway, so she meets Will Bevan, and every time she meets him in her journal, she writes in shorthand.
Of course, and only she can read it.
Yeah, it's still untranslated to this day. This
That's
might be a
not-
good chance to ask her.
That's not true. Violet found a British woman who knew Pitman shorthand. However, I did have a few little personal quirks of my own, so not everything was translatable. But, of course, they were not that scandalous. It was mostly, in the shorthand parts, I admitted that he proposed marriage.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
He said that he loved me.
But it didn't happen.
No.
These Welsh
Yes.
American marriages, they never work out.
He was a lovely man, but possessive and jealous. And,
Oh, no. That's
and
not.
I was not going to live in Wales.
No.
And he was focused on family. I don't think I could have enticed him to New York. And alas.
It's just better to come on
Yes.
home.
But I did meet his great grandson.
Oh, wow.
Yes, in fact, he was not I, but Violet met his great grandson. Yes, his
So it's
Very
been
nice
great
family.
fun.
yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So you have secrets. If you've got secrets, then you've got another book coming.
Well, perhaps.
That's wonderful. Actually, that's really exciting. On the one hand, we've got books, we've got poems in Russian, and on the other hand, we have secret romances.
I should get Violet because she has offered to read some of the poems aloud with Sparrow, like. the
Has
English
she
and Russian.
really?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
yes.
I know that she's waiting. I'm going to go get her. And
Okay.
it was lovely to meet
Oh,
you.
it was lovely to
Mrs.
meet
Greco.
you. So
Good to see you
And,
again.
Yes.
Because we've met before,
Please.
done readings together
Please
occasionally.
carry on, and
we will.
Violet will be here any moment.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
great, yeah.
We are delighted that you could make it,
Yes, thank you so much.
and I love your hat.
Me too.
Yeah, the hat is crucial to the whole.
You know, I've had a couple of secrets in my life. One of them was to have an ice cream truck.
What do you mean a secret?
That's a secret desire is to own an ice cream truck.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And the other secret that I've had in my life was to be a milliner, to make hats.
Oh,
And, there she is with a perfectly, well-created hat. So what can I say?
yeah. So you've never pursued these?
No, these are two
secret-
secrets that I've never pursued.
Have you ever told anyone publicly before?
Well, not really. This is the first time I've announced it on TV. I have tried to get my husband to fork over for the ice cream truck.
Oh,
And he has having nothing to do with the ice cream truck.
He thinks it's a dumb idea.
He thinks it's an idea where he's going to be cleaning machines all day long. He doesn't want anything to do with it. So then I said, look, what about a popcorn truck? And
That's a funny idea.
You know, I can make popcorn and we can give it all kinds of flavors and shapes and
That's
things.
true. Yeah, they have that, don't they? Stores that sell different
I
types of popcorn.
have no idea. You won't have anything to do with that either.
Yeah.
No.
He sounds like a very rational guy.
He is. He's an extremely rational guy.
Yeah.
Well, listen, is Violet going to come pretty soon?
Wait, I think this could be
Oh,
her.
this is Violet. Oh, Violet, we're so glad you could
I'm
make
sorry
it.
I'm late. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
apologize.
No, it worked
but-
out because
but,
you're a great
Mary
grandmother.
fills in for me often. She's a dear.
Oh,
I really
listen.
adore her.
Does she fill in for you for readings?
Yes, she's done some readings for me. She's done other interviews. She's really great. She's so
Oh
smart.
my gosh.
And I've always felt a kinship with her, because both of us, traveled at a young age. Like when I was 21, I went to India. When she was 20, she went to Wales, which was a big deal in those days.
Yeah.
We both ended up when we returned, ended up in New York City, lived in Manhattan, and worked in publishing.
Wow.
So I've always felt this connection with her. And then to actually write about her was so satisfying.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
It was really fun.
And our daughter is a little bit named after
Yeah,
her.
and our daughter also lived in Paris for over a year when she was around the same age. Ended up in New York City when she came back, and has worked in, not exactly publishing, but in the sort of she's written for an art gallery, published. Anyway, there's so many things
Wow.
that go down through the generations.
Where
It's
is your
really
daughter
cool.
now?
She's in New York City.
Oh, she's in the
Yeah.
city now. Did she stay in the city during the pandemic?
Yes,
Wow.
but
She
she wouldn't
stayed
let
in-
us go there.
Yeah.
She had too much fun.
She
No,
stayed
no,
in the
You have
city.
to stay. You have to
No,
stay.
you can't come.
Exactly,
You're gonna
yeah.
get sick.
Right. You have to stay back there. Back there.
Stay
Go on.
home.
Get back. Get back.
She stayed in her neighborhood. One of the things that happened in the pandemic, I don't know if people realize that up here, but the neighborhoods kind of became neighborhoods again. Because a lot of people never went anywhere. They
Right.
would just go shopping and come back to their apartment. And she didn't even see, our daughter wouldn't see friends. For months, she wouldn't see friends that lived, 20 minutes away by subway.
Right. They
because
wouldn't get
it was
on the subway.
Yeah, people wouldn't get on the subway. So then it was kind of like the city kind of regressed in a way to like the 1940s, back when people really lived in their neighborhoods, where the neighborhood had a real personality. She was at that point in Sunset Park. But then she got radicalized by the Black Lives Matter movement. That gave her an excuse, God, I hope she never sees this, to leave her house every day. For a while, there was a demonstration every day just in Brooklyn. Get on her bicycle. She got a bicycle just so she could go to more Black Lives Matter demonstrations.
Good for
And
her.
she would protest every day. So it, gave her a reason to get out of her confinement.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. She's a great being, our daughter. One time I was at some meditation, I'm in a meditation group my whole adult life, the Ananda Marga Society, and I sort of schlepped her to some retreat when she was 15, forced her to believe in all this nonsense that I believe in. And then the woman that initiated her into the group, the sort of nun, you could say, she said to me, Garuda, because in my group I'm known as Garuda, not
Okay.
Sparrow.
Not Sparrow.
So she said, Garuda, I know you've done many important things in your life, which is not true, and but you've accomplished a lot. But really, your purpose on earth was to have this daughter.
Wow.
Yeah, and it seems basically
That's a
true.
lovely thing.
I know.
No one has ever said anything like that to me at all. Nobody has ever said your purpose in life was.
To do anything at all.
Right. No. Nothing at all.
Yeah. Well, you got to go to brainwashed yogis. Normal people are not going to tell you that. You
Well,
gotta
they're not
give it-
interested.
Yes, that's true. who knows what her, Cheersmita was her name, the person who said this to me. I don't know what her secret agenda was, to kind of cut me down to size, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's basically,
So you guys live together and you write together.
well, we don't write together. We did when we were first together, when we were romantically involved together. We would write poems. Actually, when our daughter was born, that day or the next day, we wrote a poem, alternate lines together.
You know how
Oh,
you send
wow.
out an announcement of the birth of your baby? Well, ours was in the form of a poem, and we alternated
Wow.
lines.
Wow.
So there was a time, and we wrote a whole sort of little booklet of poems together in Lexington, Virginia, together. Yeah, we did.
in Lexington,
Soon after we
Virginia?
met, yeah.
We had a friend there.
Yeah, my friend John Patton he's from Lexington, and then he moved back, and I knew him in New York City.
His name was John Patton.
John Patton,
That's a Southern name.
Yeah, he's a Southern kind of guy. He's a Scots-Irish, kind of hillbilly-ish sort of guy. A smart guy, a normal, modern person, but he's from that Scots-Irish. In fact, he was a Presbyterian. He died, sadly, but a few years ago. But he was a Presbyterian, and he took me to his one of the most beautiful churches I ever saw, a Presbyterian church in Lexington, built by defeated Confederate soldiers. They came back and assuaged their tragic feelings by making this ornate white church.
Yes.
And anyway, yeah, so he was John Patton. He lived he went back to Lexington, where he grew up. But Lexington, if you know, Lexington has
I do.
gentrified to the point that he couldn't afford to live there anymore.
Right.
So he had to move over to Buena Vista,
Yes.
where all the, poor folk live.
Yes.
So, but he was living in a trailer. I think it was in Lexington when we visited him. He went away somewhere. We stayed there, watched his videos, and wrote this whole book of poems together. Back when and then we would write songs together. One of our great songs we wrote collectively. We should maybe sing it right now.
Waiting for the cat food to come?
Yeah, can we remember the words to it?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
You
really
could
wanna
probably
sing it?
remember it. This was a song that we wrote. You want to hear it?
Of course.
Yeah, we wrote it, alternate lines pretty much. Let's see. It's about, we're in the East Village. Well, let me just explain it. We're in the East Village. We are in a tenement. We're in the third floor. We've ordered the cat food, and we're trying to decide whether to have sex before the cat food guy comes carrying the cat food. That's what this song is about.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, great. So why don't you start since you remember it?
We're lying around, it's Saturday afternoon. You're looking at me, I'm looking at you.
We're waiting for the cat food to come. Waiting for the cat food to come.
The cat food's supposed to come between 12 and 2, and now it's noon, and we have to decide what to do.
Now I'll sing. Should we have sex or wait for the cat food? What if he comes before we do?
We're waiting for the cat food to come. Waiting for the cat food to come. Each time you put your hand on my thigh, or I put my thigh on your hand, we have to try to understand if we're about to hear the cat food man carrying the cat food cans.
Now it's
We're lying.
Now it's 2 p.m.
No. Now we're lying on the bed.
Now we're lying on the bed. We've had sex and it's still not 2. I've come and you've come too, but where's the cat food?
Where's
The cat food. Waiting for the cat food to come.
waiting for the cat food to come.
Waiting for the cat food to come. Waiting for the cat food to come. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you guys don't get bored very often.
Well, I don't know. It's maybe we don't. I don't know how much we get bored. I'm very busy doing nonsensical things all day.
What does that mean?
He likes to write palindromes. Well, that's what he does when he can't sleep at night. He writes palindromes. He has a envelope, scrap paper, and a pen under his pillow. And if he gets in bed, he can't sleep, and then he comes up with a palindrome. He writes it down and tries not to wake me up.
And last night was sort of a crisis because I've been doing this for years. And last night I reached under my pillow because I thought of a palindrome. In fact, I can kind of remember the palindrome. So it's like, pews in a church. It's not like all I talk about is churches, but anyway, you know what a pew,
Yes.
and you sweep the floor. So this is the palindrome. In other words, the same backwards and as I like to say, a palindrome is a word, phrase, or Italian menu that reads the same backwards and forwards. So this is the same backwards and forwards, this phrase I'm about to say that I thought of last night. He swept pews. A, A is spelled E-H.
Yes.
He swept pews, eh? So I reach under the pillow to get my paper to write it on, and I get a paper cut. It like the envelope, the edge of the envelope, the part you lick, slices. You see it? Can you see this, people at home? I have a little Band-Aid on my finger because this is the occupational hazard of being a palindromist. Yeah, we'll get this.
It's an occupational hazard of being a writer.
I suppose, the kind of writer that, has a piece of paper under his pillow. I would prefer, nice close-up there. I would prefer to use a tape recorder, but then I might wake up my loyal wife, so I quietly use pen and paper.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Yeah, that's one of the things I do all day.
what's the other thing?
The other thing, I'm the cook. I cook every day. Today I made a kind of Bok Choy Soup. I can show it to you, since we're doing a lot of close-ups. I brought it with, that's the other thing I do, is I fast on Fridays. I fast to destroy the CIA. Can you get the close-up on this? I don't know if it looks like anything. But it's a Bok Choy stew with sweet potato. Maybe I should tilt
And you
it.
fast to destroy the CIA?
I fast every week from Thursday night to Friday night to destroy the CIA. This really looks pretty unappetizing, doesn't it? It's bok choy, and it has, what is it we call that stuff?
Quinoa?
That parsley-like stuff.
Cilantro.
Yeah, cilantro, sweet potato, bok choy, and something else. And then millet. We still eat millet. I'm the millet cook. Hippies in the 70s. And unfortunately or fortunately, my whole dietary philosophy was sort of formed and kind of solidified in 1974. So I'm still eating exactly what the hippies of 1974 ate, which is, in this case, lima beans, millet, and bok
Hey, don't
choy
you think we
stew.
should read? Don't you want to read something?
1974?
Roughly 74. I took this class in natural food eating. I think it was maybe 74, 75, around then. I think I took it 2 or 3
You're
times.
pretty young.
I'm pretty young, yeah. I'm merely 68, I think. And she's even younger, only 66.
See, when I go back to hippiedom,
Uh-huh.
we're looking at 64, 65.
Oh, really? The real hippies?
Yeah.
I'm not a real hippie. In fact, I'm starting to think I wasn't even a hippie. I'm just trying to make my beard look a little hippie-ish, more hippie here. Let's get a close-up of my beard here. And, yeah, I think I was a neoconservative reaction to the hippies. Me and my generation of 70s hippies, we were basically against sex and drugs, and almost against rock and roll. That's too much of a close-up. And, but thanks. But, so we were a reaction to the hippies. The hippies tried to pursue doing their own thing, and it failed by 74. That was obvious.
Absolutely.
It just, pleasure, the idea of having enjoyment and pleasure is a dead end, leads nowhere. So we were following the ancient mystical truths. Close up on my eyes.
Which were?
Well, they're very hard to explain in words. In a situation like that. Basically, I'll sing you my chant. This is in Anandamarga, this is what we do when we get together. We we do this dance, but I won't do it because I don't know if the camera can catch it. We sort of go back and, we dance back and forth a two-step, and we chant, Baba Nam Kewalam, Baba Nam Kewalam, Baba Nam, Baba Nam Kewalam, for hours.
And were you in this group also?
No.
Mercifully.
I did go to one retreat.
You went to, how long was the retreat?
The same one I was
No,
talking
like
about
a day and
before.
a half.
A day and a
That
half.
was plenty.
That was enough.
And she lived with the Margies. They're called Margies, people in Anandamarga.
I lived with the nuns in London for 3 months, I think.
Yeah.
In a school. They had a school for
What
like
nuns?
a preschool. The Anandamarga nuns. They were nice. I had to mop the kitchen floor. every
She
morning.
still resents them. And then she worked at their
didn't know.
bakery. They had a
No,
bakery.
it was not their bakery. It was someone else's bakery, and I got fired from that.
What did you do wrong?
I
Ate too
didn't
much.
Jump up when people came in the door. I was reading, and people took a long time to make a decision, so I would just sit there reading. And
They're English. You're supposed to small talk with them.
So tell me what you cooked in the bakery.
I didn't cook anything. I was a saleswoman,
Clerk.
sales clerk.
Somebody
they
else
have?
in the back baked the food.
This go-getter Ghanaian woman. She was amazing. She was really great, but
She was the
fired me.
baker?
Yeah,
Oh, she's the person who fired you.
yeah. It was
Right,
really
because these
humiliating.
go-getter Ghanaians, they don't want these lazy Americans.
So after she fired you, then what'd you have to do?
I was traveling. I don't, what
You
did I
just
do?
went to India.
Yeah, I just took off and went ahead to India.
Yeah, so she might as well have fired you anyway. You were going there anyhow, right?
Exactly.
You were on your way.
Well, I tried to start a business making and selling cornbread
You
out
did?
of the kitchen of the school.
Really?
Didn't go very well.
Right, because they suddenly
She's a
realized their
terrible-
cornbread was all missing.
No, they were fine with it. They were okay with it.
She wasn't stealing
I
the
wasn't
cornbread.
stealing it. In fact, they let me drive their van, which was ironic because I'd never driven a stick shift before. They tried to teach
Plus,
me
it's
to
on the
drive
wrong
this
side of the
van.
road.
It was pretty nightmarish, but anyway, I sold about 10, 12 pounds worth of English pounds worth of cornbread.
Oh,
Every
English.
day or every week?
No, total.
English
Oh,
pounds.
those
This was
poor
before the
people.
euro. This was
Those
80,
poor people.
86.
They were so bad off that you came in and you had an idea to do cornbread and they said fine.
Yeah.
And they taught you to drive their Jeep,
Their van.
their van. That's
Yeah.
even worse.
Very generous people.
They were
Well,
not-
she was
they were
all they
really
had.
nice. They were
So
really
then
nice.
when you were asleep and the customers came in and they wanted a crumpet or something, then, well,
I
you-
wasn't asleep. I was reading a book.
She's like a
That's
chronic.
even
Boring.
You want to know about our lives as writers. I mean, Violet is really like an addicted reader. She just has to read. She has to read while she eats, we don't eat together typically, and when we
My
do, it
husband-
goes very badly.
My husband and I, he is an addicted reader.
Oh yeah.
He is totally an addicted reader. And he's really, really ill.
Oh,
and
dear.
he could not care less.
That he's
People
ill.
are bringing him things to read, and when he's feeling good, he cooks a couple of days worth of food to
Oh.
get him through until he feels good again. But that's all he's interested in is reading.
What does he read?
Beats the hell out of me. Whatever he can find.
Anything.
Anything he can find.
Yeah, Violet is a little bit
he
like
loves
that.
history
Oh, okay.
and you know the Russian stuff, all that Russian stuff.
Oh, that's right. He's a Russophone like Violet.
Yeah, and he does all of the government stuff. And it's
Government
kind
stuff.
Well, yeah, he reads all of the government things.
Things put out by the government
Yeah, and
for his
stories
job
about
as a secret agent. You mean?
right, you know, and so that's what he enjoys doing. And if he's as long as he's got that, he's
He doesn't
okay.
read tough guy novels by
Well, he
Tom
probably
Clancy.
reads that too. He probably
Probably.
reads that too. you
Seems
know.
like it goes with that.
And then at the dinner table, when you try to get him to talk, he's not interested in talking. He wants to read some more.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
like my
Like
wife.
us, just like us.
Yeah, I really, this is like since this is turning into a therapy session, this is like basically the story of my emotional life is like I tried very hard not to marry my mother, only to realize I married my father.
Well, my question is, who did I marry? I've never figured that one out.
You've never figured it out?
No.
Well, maybe that's why you're still married.
I mean, and I have tried when he came down with arthritis, and I really tried very, very hard to keep him going. My daughter, who is a hospice nurse, came here from Arizona, and she spent a week with us.
Oh,
And at the end of the week, she pulled me aside and she said, "You are being entirely too tough on Dad. What you do is whatever he wants, you give it to him. That's his path." And I said, "But all he wants to do is sit on his ass and read a book." "That's fine."
spoken
So-
like a daughter.
But she's really not his daughter. And
Oh.
she really doesn't even like him. But she thinks that he should, if he wants to read, he should read. So reading is fine. It's your path. Right? It's your path.
Well, yeah, I'm not that much of a reader. I'm not a fanatic. That's why I refer to her as an addictive reader. Like she kind of has to be reading all the time, and she reads really fast, and I read really slowly, like bizarre. And I read like 25 things at once.
Well, that's all right.
Do we
So,
want to read?
Yeah, this is driving my
Out loud?
wife crazy that we
Is it-
haven't been reading.
well, now wait a minute. How much time we only have a few minutes left. What is your name, the name of your next book?
Next book?
Remember the Featherbed.
And where is that going to be? When is it what is the deal with it?
It's a spiritual novel.
Okay.
I
It's
never
a-
knew the title
It's a
of it.
novel about a spiritual path
Okay.
of a person.
And you finished it?
I'm working on the second draft.
How many drafts do you do?
I don't know. 2, 3, 4, who knows?
Oh,
It depends how you
God,
count the
no.
drafts.
You're looking at 25 to 30 drafts with me.
Really? 25 to 30?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I
What's
don't
your
know where-
sign?
I don't know how you determine when the draft is done.
That's true.
but,
How do you know
you
when
When
know,
you
is a
can't
draft?
stand it anymore.
No, I just mean like I've been working on the second draft for 6 months. And it's not like anyway. But yeah, it's coming along.
It's coming. Okay, so we've got a book coming along, and what's coming along with
Well,
you?
I do have a book I'm working hard on that Apathy Press is going to put out. It's called Stories, and it's a bunch of really tiny stories, mostly tiny. Some of them are one sentence long.
Apathy Press.
Apathy Press, yeah, he's my friend, Tom DeVenti. He's an interesting guy. I was just talking about him today. He has a job. He lives in rural Pennsylvania, and I think this might be a full-time job. He drives around Amish people because Amish people
They don't drive.
They're not supposed to drive, but I guess it's okay to have some goy drive you around, and that's what he does, and that somehow pays for Apathy Press. I don't know.
We have no idea.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we need to, she wants us to do a poem, so what
Yeah,
are you
or
gonna
at least
do?
a few poems, because this is a book, we discussed this, how it's bilingual. So since she speaks Russian,
You're gonna do the Russian side.
she's gonna do the Russian, so I'll read a poem, I'll read one of them, as much as we have time for. And I think I'll start with this one. Prudential is like an insurance company.
Right,
So this is called 1986, the year we're talking about.
yes.
1986. The day I quit Prudential, I peed on my desk.
Oh, I'm sure you are inspiring a lot of people.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, quit your jobs out there, everybody.
They're all doing that, but I don't know if they're accomplishing anything. Okay, now,
I can't remember how to say 1986 in Russian.
we'll skip that one.
В день увольнения из Prudential я помочился на рабочий стол.
Wow. They're better in Russian, it seems to me. So we're ready for another
First in Russian.
first in Russian, but then they get worse as.
Okay, whatever you say, they're your poems.
Gee, I guess I'll read this one. This is called Suggestion. Next time you be the poet, and I'll be the reader.
Предложение. В следующий раз вы станете поэтом, а я буду читателем.
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of, what's the word? Fascinating. This one was a big hit in Guanajuato. This is called Thursday. I'm stirring split pea soup with a flute.
Четверг. Я помешиваю гороховую похлебнику своей флейтой.
Wow, fietoi is obviously flute.
Флейтой.
Fietloi.
Флейтой.
Maybe I'll read this one. This is called The Goal. The Goal. This explains what all my poems are for. The Goal. My poems are not intended to be read. I want them to be directly composted.
Oh, that's what should have happened to my stuff.
Съель. Мои стихотворения не предназначены для чтения. Я хочу, чтобы они немедленно преврались в компост.
Compost, that was a sort of surprise. Maybe I'll read this one. Maybe I'll sing this one. This is called Manifesto. Anyone can be a musician. All you have to do is sing this poem.
Манифест. Музыкантом может быть каждый. Все, что вам нужно сделать, пропеть это стихотворение.
Listen, when is your next reading here? When do you
When
go
is
to
our
your
next
next poetry
reading?
reading here?
That's a very good question. I think I'm doing nothing for the rest of my life, as far
We're
as I
going to
can.
be interviewed on the radio in April.
April 12th, my mother's birthday.
And what radio station?
WIOX in Roxbury.
Out in
Community
Roxbury.
Radio.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
getting the
1
local.
o'clock, I think. in the
Oh yeah,
afternoon.
I'm going to teach a class. I just remembered.
Oh yeah, we're both teaching classes. We have to
Tell
promote
tell
our
us about
classes.
that.
Yeah, the Phoenicia Library is hosting my class in how to write a memoir. I think I gave it the pretentious title, something like Writing Your Life, Living Your Words, something like that. And
Now, when is that library class happening?
that's also starting on the 12th of April. It's going to be three Tuesdays 7 p.m. You got to somehow find the Phoenicia Library website or Facebook page or something, and then hopefully it'll be there. You know, the Zoom link thereof.
Oh, is it on Zoom?
It's on Zoom, yeah.
How much does it cost?
It costs nothing, and you don't have to register. Anyone can come. It's completely free. It's like
And it's in April.
it's April 12th, 19th, 26th, right? 3 Tuesdays in a row.
And it's about writing memoir.
It's memoir writing. I mean, you know, it's adaptable. Plus, I teach a class every Thursday night. Come to think of it.
Where at?
Also Zoom.
Where, I know, but now, which library?
That's nothing. That's just me.
Oh, you have your own private Zoom class?
Exactly. 7 p.m. every Thursday. So you have to somehow call me at warapps44@gmail.com. Rather, write me at that email address. So warapps is Sparrow backwards. Hopefully, if you're literate enough to watch this show, you can figure out how to spell Sparrow backwards. WORRAPS 44.
Now, you offer a Thursday night class?
Thursday night. That's also free. Everything I do is free.
And it's on Zoom.
It's on Zoom, and I'm
What
determined-
time
It's
is
a poetry class.
It's at 7.
It's a poetry class at 7.
It's it's maybe become kind of a general writing class.
The thing is, I used to go to this poetry group at
Oh.
Inquiring Minds, and I'm not a poet at all,
Oh,
in Saugerties, but they let me in.
okay.
They had pity on me, and they let me in.
Ah,
And I can assure you that if the two of you were to come
oh,
and do this, that you would close that writing class down. I mean, nobody could compete with that. This is tremendous.
it's tremendous?
Oh, it cannot be competed with.
You mean
There's-
just as an experience?
Somebody shows up and they're going to read a poem, and they brought this poem, and you two come in and do this bilingual
Yeah.
song and dance. Everybody would want copies of your Apathy Press book.
This is Propeller.
Propeller your book.
Yeah,
Everybody would
well,
want
I
it.
wonder. Generally, nobody
I don't
wants...
wonder. I know.
Yes, you've
I
got
was at
that
that one. I know
certainty
that.
of a
Yeah.
person who has her own TV show. Well, you could be right. Normally, no one ever wants to buy anything
Nobody
write.
really wants to buy your poetry books, although people are kind if they have money on them at that moment and they buy the copy of the books. That book, people would find money in their pockets for that.
The problem
I'm serious.
is, Russia, everybody's boycotting Russia right now.
Oh,
So,
It's
I'm worried that I'm
glorious.
on the wrong
Oh.
side
But
of
this
history.
was published in Germany.
Yeah.
So.
but it's glorious. Everybody is. Yes, for once, my husband. Yes, yes. And-
Well, I'm happy to do this anywhere. We just suddenly did it in Guanajuato. I was reading from this book, and my wife jumped up and said, "Hey, you want me to read the Russian?" And then, this is our new career, the bilingual poetry
It has
performance.
been such memories of Guanajuato, and I think about you guys jumping up and reading the poem in 2 languages, and all these drunks sitting in the room.
These are amazing people. This
Absolutely, you'd be amazing too if you hadn't been sober for 10 years.
That's probably true.
They were young filmmakers. They were really smart and interesting.
People generally are pretty smart when they show up at Guanajuato.
Yeah, it's a
It's a great
perfect
town.
place.
It is a great town, absolutely.
And this was at this collective movie theater called Cinemanimal. Cinema Animal combined into one word, which I guess is a joke also.
And how long were you down there?
3 days.
Only 3
Well, in
days?
Guanajuato, 3 days. 3 days in San Miguel de Allende, and 3
That's
days
even
in
worse.
Mexico City.
And Mexico City, where were you at in Mexico City?
We were very
stayed
precisely-
right near the Plaza Garibaldi.
Oh,
where
really?
all the
So the mariachi music kept
Yes,
us awake
yes.
at night.
That's where the mariachis play the music
Yeah.
for the tourists.
yeah, but
And-
there were no tourists.
Well, there were Mexican tourists. There weren't
But there
any
were very
Americans.
few.
And was the smog so bad you couldn't see across the street?
It was
No,
fine.
Probably
it wasn't that
not.
bad. No, it was okay.
Not
It
during
was
the-
February.
Right, and during the pandemic, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
maybe.
that they didn't have nearly as much
I had a little bit of altitude panic in Guanajuato, like our first night in Mexico, because our friend that we were staying with said that sometimes he wakes up and he can't breathe because of the altitude. So then I'm very suggestible if anyone else has a heart attack, I have a heart attack. So I was sure I couldn't breathe, but then I was too embarrassed to go to the hospital. So I just survived.
Well, that's interesting. You didn't have a breathing fit in Mexico City.
No, Mexico City.
And the altitude in the Plaza de Garibaldi's is higher than it is in Guanajuato.
I realize,
So
but
if you were going to have a breathing fit, it would have been there. I mean, if you've been going to have a real
Did
one.
you know people in Mexico that had the breathing fit? Is it a real thing?
I absolutely, yes. My mother had a breathing fit down there.
Oh dear.
I lived there for several years, and when my first husband pulled out, I needed to rent somebody. Somebody had to fill up his bedroom so I could have some money, and I rented a room to a school teacher. And he sat on the sofa, and he had just found the room, and he was, the house, and he was delighted. And he was sitting there and talking, and all of a sudden he went boom, and he just passed out right there.
He was Americano.
Of course, he was American. He spoke English.
Where was this? In Guanajuato?
No, it was in Mexico City.
Uh-huh.
No. Guanajuato was somewhere I went on vacation. No, I lived in Mexico City.
Right.
And
right.
then he just fell over, and that happened a lot,
Wow.
because
we were
of the
okay.
altitude.
Yeah, she's a Christian Scientist. She doesn't believe in the material world. And I'm a little oblivious to everything. So it worked out fine. I kind of liked being in this hotel room where they're like blasting music in through the window.
In the Plaza de Garibaldi.
It was like,
oh God.
I felt like I was in a bad Hollywood movie.
You were in a bad Hollywood movie. There's no question about that one. You were in a bad Hollywood movie. We have got 4 minutes left.
Oh, great.
So please tell the world, where can they buy your poetry books? Especially this little number in Russian and English.
I have no idea where you can buy this.
Well,
that's for
how
sure.
can they, and
It's Propeller. If you look, well, just find me. Anyway, no one wants it, but just go to my, Facebook page. What was my name? Sparrow X Carter. X period. Sparrow X period Carter. And then just ask me, how do I get it? And I'll maybe mail it to you.
And we should look for, you've got some library readings coming up. With that hat, you're bound to have. Really. And
No, well, I did a bunch of readings.
Oh, yeah,
but you need to go back.
Well, I'm going to Atlantic City to do a presentation for the New Jersey women's clubs.
Hey, and
Okay.
I'm reading at the Whitney Biennial.
This is
I
getting
just
better.
remembered.
This is getting better, and we're in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah.
When is the Whitney Biennial?
Well, it's soon,
And now, when is your trip to Atlantic
I
City?
don't remember.
April, late April 24th.
And you get to wear the hat
Yeah.
in April?
Well, my great grandmother is going to actually do the presentation.
You know what? I'm not kidding you. I think that you have a real fortune going on. You send letters out to these different libraries and schedule. Everybody will buy copies of your books.
And these books are available, they're sort of real books, except
They're
for the
all on
Propeller.
Amazon, actually.
Yeah. And you can even get it, what's that thing that's like,
To
there's,
march or to marry, that's new.
you look up independentbookstores.com.
Bookshops.com, I think it's called. You
Yeah,
can get
that
it
way you
from
don't have
that
to
one, too.
pay
You don't wanna
Jeff
go
But
Bezos.
you know, the thing is, it's one thing to buy this on Amazon, okay?
Yeah.
It is another thing to buy this from a lady in that hat you were wearing. That is a whole other
I
experience.
do have copies in my house.
Yeah, I really feel that.
Come
I'm
to
not
my
I want
kidding.
to show
house
them
if
my
you
books. I
want,
want to show the
if you
close-up
want a copy.
machine, my books.
And this one, listen, invite these people to your poetry readings.
Yes, soon. Because time is of the essence.
It is of the essence. It is of the essence. Uh-oh.
Well, do I have time to sing a song?
Of course, we're probably out of time, but I don't think it matters at this point.
I wanted to sing a song, and now is the time. Is it too late?
Oh.
Okay. This is a song called You Can't Sing While Wearing a Mask. It's a kind of COVID-era song. You can sing by the river, you can sing while you shiver, you can sing while you do a repetitive task, but you can't sing, no you can't sing wearing a mask. You can sing in the shower while insulting Trump Tower, you can sing while you drink from a small hidden flask, but you can't sing, no you can't sing wearing a mask. A small piece of cloth that just weighs an ounce can muffle the words you try to pronounce. You can sing in your bedroom, your blue room or red room. You can sing while you file your state income tax. You can sing something vicious while doing the dishes. You can sing while you wash out an old wooden cask. But you can't sing, no you can't sing wearing a mask.
That was delightful.
Oh, thank
That
you
was
so much.
delightful.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, listen, somehow I'm not sure that our listening and viewing audience has a real clear picture of exactly what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
if you will send me some kind of a calendar, I'll try to get it on
Oh, okay, yeah.
Facebook.
My
if
wife
nothing
is
else.
very legitimate with that kind of thing.
I'll try to get it on Facebook somewhere.
Okay, great.
And you've been wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
It's been
Haven't
lovely
we?
to
You actually have.
Well, you're very charming in a way, too.
Sparrow's the master of the left-handed compliment.
Oh, God. Well,
Yeah.
listen.
Oh, yeah, I'm giving you that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's, I follow.
Good night, Ellen. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Ellen.
thank you. You've done a fabulous
Thank you,
job.
Ellen.
Some
Yeah,
great,
You've been wonderful.
great
You're the
close-upping
best.
there.
You are the best.